Recently, the release of a new movie, Werewolves Within, was announced. The production on the movie was announced a while back, so many fans have been patiently awaiting, making this comedy horror film very much anticipated. A trailer was also recently released, which gave viewers a better grasp on what to expect and only made the excitement levels rise even more. So, in today's video, we'll be going over everything you need to know about the upcoming Werewolves Within movie. But before we get into the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with the notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the new videos we post. As many can guess, the upcoming Werewolves Within movie is based on the game called Mafia or Werewolf. Some may recognize it as the Ubisoft game that's a multiplayer VR set in a medieval fantasy town that's being attacked by a werewolf. However, there's also an IRL version where you're sitting in a circle with your eyes closed. Then someone is chosen to be the mafioso or the werewolf, and they kill someone each night. As a group, you try to work out who the killer is and try to get rid of them in the game. The problem is that this is essentially a guessing game, and you may end up killing someone who is not the mafioso or werewolf, and they can continue their killing spree. Josh Ruben, the director of Werewolves Within adaptation, takes this concept and turns it into a modern-day werewolf film. While based on a video game, it will also be more familiar to those of us who played the classic party game at many a gathering where a group of friends were tasked with either finding the werewolves or killing the townspeople as a werewolf themselves. What separates the film from its inspiration, and let's just say other ill-fated video game adaptations, is that there is a lot of ambiguity in the mythology of the story, with room for new creative ideas to take hold. There also are a lot of talented comedy performers who already seem to be really sinking their teeth into the material. With that said about the game, here's what the plot of the upcoming movie is expected to be. The synopsis was released and reads, "When a killer terrorizes the snowed-in residents of a small town, it falls to the new forest ranger to find out who, or what, lurks among them in this hilarious horror whodunit." The lycanthropic ally-themed horror comedy Werewolves Within is essentially both a whodunit and a whatdunit. After a proposed gas pipeline creates divisions within the small town of Beaverfield, which as many can see, the movie adaptation ditches the animated medieval fantasy setting of the video game, a snowstorm traps its residents together inside the local inn. And it's now up to newly arrived forest ranger Finn and postal worker Cecily to try to keep the peace and uncover the truth behind a mysterious creature that has begun terrorizing the community. Werewolves Within is essentially about a divided town that gets snowed in at the local lodge, says filmmaker Josh Ruben. The forest ranger, played by Sam Richardson, and the local postal worker, Milana Vaintrub, try to keep the peace while also figuring out what the hell is lurking in the shadows terrorizing this town. Along with a great plot, the movie also put together quite a good cast to tell this story. The list of werewolf suspects is played by a murderer's row of comedy notables and familiar supporting players, including Harvey Guillen, Cheyenne Jackson, George Basil, Michaela Watkins, Sarah Burns, Michael Shamus, Wayne Duvall, and Rebecca Henderson. The film also features a notably hairy turn by Billions and Joker Glenn Fleshler, who will play a character named Emerson Flint. Some of the other character names that have been released include Finn, who's played by Sam Richardson, Cecily, played by Milana Vaintrub, Pete, played by Michael Shamus, Janine, played by Catherine Curtin, and Charlotte, who will be played by Annie Kruger. Of course, we don't know much about these characters other than Finn being a forest ranger and Cecily the postal worker. But these actors are expected to perform well as their selected roles, and many fans are excited to see how everything plays out. The production plans for a Werewolves Within film adaptation began back in October of 2018, and it was announced Werewolves Within was being developed as a feature film, with Mishna Wolf set to write the screenplay for the film, while Ubisoft Motion Pictures, Vanishing Angle, and Sam Richardson would produce. The film is directed by Josh Ruben, most known for his underrated debut Scare Me, and television work on shows like Adam Ruins Everything. The film will be the former CollegeHumor star's second directorial effort, who had previously said he had a lot of childhood memories to draw from for this newest film. "I grew up near the same small town where we shot Werewolves Within. As a kid, I'd freak myself out, making up monster stories, running through the woods, pretending I was Chief Brody, fighting creatures in the brush. That hometown experience where neighbors knew your business whether you liked it or not is so much of what makes werewolves so personal. But as much as I love horror movies, nothing scares me more than people. And as much as this movie is an homage to my love for Hot Fuzz, the Coen brothers, and arachnophobia, it's also about the monster in all of us. This movie is a tribute to those of us who are resolute that good conquers evil, and that being good is the best weapon we've got against guns, knives, even claws. Sometimes you just gotta be a good neighbor, no matter how wicked people are." What got some fans so excited about the upcoming movie was actually because of Josh Ruben, who's perhaps best known for the very excellent horror comedy Scare Me. There are even some narrative similarities between Werewolves Within and Scare Me, which is about a couple of horror writers trapped inside a cabin trying to scare each other. Hopefully, Ruben's able to work his magic and against all odds make a good horror comedy out of a VR party game. The film is also the feature debut for writer Mishna Wolf, whose comic timing and voice already shines through in the trailer. Plus, she may just have the most unintentionally perfect last name to take on a film about werewolves. In a video, Wolf describes the movie as a live-action horror comedy and describes how she's tickled by the idea of private justice. Lastly, the trailer for the new movie is released just recently, which really brought some attention to the movie. IFC Films' first trailer for the new horror comedy Werewolves Within offers a longer look at what to expect and seems exactly like if you mash together Knives Out and The Dead Don't Die into one film. And there's nothing quite like a horror movie that has a rather comical lean to it and at the same time is bound to scare the pants off of some viewers. When a group of small-town residents is forced to hunker down at the local inn, they realize that the storm isn't their only problem, since there's a wild supernatural beast on the loose in their small town, and surviving the night might not be as easy as they think. Just watching the trailer, it's obvious that we're bound to be laughing at parts of the movie and wondering what will happen next, since the whole idea appears to be that the surviving members of the town are going to be suspicious of one another, but also forced to band together in order to survive. In terms of werewolf movies, this one really isn't giving much away, other than the fact that there is indeed something out there, and that it's going to prove to be a problem for those involved. Apart from that, it's keeping plenty back, and those that haven't played the virtual reality game are likely going to be nicely surprised to see what happens. The trailer sets the scene nicely, emphasizing that small towns thrive on community and being neighborly to one another, which will be important once the second-guessing and paranoia of the werewolf game sets in. Luckily, Werewolves Within is indeed rated R, so we can be sure there's a bunch of fun violence and gore, as evidenced by some throwing axes and lots of guns. But the mafia or werewolf concept implies that people are the most dangerous aspect of the game, as trust and fear don't usually go hand in hand. To go into some detail about the trailer, it opens on the sleepy, snowy town of Beaverfield. A cutesy will they won't they between a postal worker and a park ranger is stalled by the arrival of werewolves. When a snowstorm forces the town to sequester itself in a local inn, trust erodes and tensions rise, as neighbors must hunt for the monsters in their midst. The trailer also highlights the film's deep ensemble cast, including Veep's Sam Richardson and This Is Us's Melania Vaintrub. Casual's Michaela Watkins, What We Do in the Shadows' Harvey Guillen, and American Horror Story's Cheyenne Jackson also star. Following successful murder mystery films like Knives Out, Werewolves Within should be the next whodunit to blend eclectic genres to unique effect. Lycanthropes have also in general experienced a bit of a resurgence in the booming horror comedy genre. Last year's The Wolf of Snow Hollow and Guillen's own What We Do in the Shadows TV series have taken advantage of the humorous aspects of werewolves, dog breath, their use of a lunar calendar, etc., to soften their more horrifically murderous sides. Overall, the trailer for Werewolves Within shows how, complete with an R rating, the film's hero will certainly have his work cut out for him. That is, if the monster doesn't cut through him first. Last but not least, Werewolves Within will have its world premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival in June of 2021 and is scheduled to be released in a limited release on June 25, 2021, followed by a video on demand on July 2, 2021 by IFC Films. With that said, that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching!